Okay, so these are the techniques used by advertisers. These techniques are very similar to persuasive language techniques, but they relate, of course, only to advertising. And as with persuasive language techniques, you can use these quite liberally, and you might find that an ad or a campaign can use multiple techniques within one piece. So when it comes time for you to write your own written explanation, you'll be needing to use this as your metalanguage to explain the choices you made when you created your advertisement, and also why. So the first technique is called Avantgarde, which basically just means cutting edge in French. So Avantgarde, you might say, this product is ahead of its time, it's the next generation, it's the future, it's the Uber of some other industry, and it's just a way of setting yours clearly apart from your opposition. Bandwagon is the second technique, and it simply means giving the impression that everyone else is already doing something, or that you might be left behind. The phrase bandwagon actually goes back to an old expression where political parties would have an actual bandwagon, where people would be playing a band on an actual wagon, and if you felt that you supported the political beliefs of the group represented there, then you would hop on the bandwagon. Nowadays it has something of a negative connotation, but it's still something often used by advertisers. So bribery isn't actually bribing someone, but it's just giving something additional or extra with the purchase. So buy this meal and we'll throw in 3 wings or something similar. A common phrase you might see on packaging is now contains 20% more. This is another example of bribery. Next up is card stacking, and as the visual or the analogy might lead you to believe, it's just putting things side by side so you can see which stack is higher. And this can either be done with a direct comparison or a direct reference to another product, or simply by providing all the positive benefits of your own product. Divergence simply means distracting from your product in some way or another. But this also could be distracting from the boring nature of your advertisement, so you might deliver just a list of properties but do it in a distracting or entertaining, comical way so that people are distracted by the images, but that they hopefully process the audio of the explanation of the product. Delivering generalities is basically just using powerful or connotation-rich words in association with your product. So you don't actually need to link it to your product, so you might say, like, you might flash up the words cancer curing in regards to your product, but you would never actually put that on the product because of course you can't back that up, but you just put it in a place in proximity to your product to create a connection between the two. If you think of food advertising, quite often there will just be words flashed up or expressed as product shots are displayed. Magic ingredients is just as it sounds. You make an ingredient or an element of your product seem especially good. If you think of shampoos, quite often they'll put rare plants in there just to give the impression that there's something unique or special about the product, even though typically, at least, the majority of the product is just water. Nostalgia is referring to the past in a positive or glowing way, so you might say these biscuits are just like your mum used to make, or something similar, to draw your reader back to their past and create a positive association between the two. Patriotism, this is not used as often as you might think in advertising, unless you're sort of selling a product that's only popular in your own country, or perhaps selling people joining the armed forces or something similar. Plain folks is like the opposite of expert opinion. You just get normal people off the street, you make sure they look especially plain, you don't get anyone incredibly good looking, incredibly tall, or anything outlandish or strange about them. You just find the most boring, plain people you can find, and you get them to say your product is positive or good. Sense appeal is just referring to the 5 senses to show the appealing nature of your product. So if you're selling chips, you might have a lot of audio of people crunching through the chips, or people smelling your freshly cooked product. It's just drawing on the senses. Simple solutions is just that. Probably the best example of this is if you think of body spray, sort of like Lynx type brands. The problem they apply or show is that the male user of the product is unattractive to women, and the simple solution is, of course, just cover yourself in this awful spray, and then the women are attracted to the male almost magnetically, which of course doesn't really work that way. Snob appeal is just showing that your product is only for the rich, the well-off, the sophisticated, and making it very clear by displaying images of those sort of people so that people can aspirationally want to be like them. Statistics, just like the persuasive language technique, it's using numbers and figures to support your point. Testimonials is people attesting to your product's effectiveness, and this is mostly for sort of lifestyle interventions. So you think of Jenny Craig, there's always some vaguely famous person saying how their life's so much better now, they've lost weight and they're more active as a result. Transfer is just shifting your product from where it is to somewhere else, or making an association that people may not have made in their heads. So this is usually for products that aren't very well received. So you might say something like, if you're BHP, you may say, we're energy generators, or, we're nation builders, anything other than, we're big voracious polluters. So weasel words are just that, words that don't actually get to the point that they're trying to make. So you may say like, this product may help you to get married and be happily ever after. You could say things like, studies suggest this product will improve the whiteness of your teeth. The weasel word there being may or perhaps, or it's just introducing modality into an otherwise clear sentence. Wit and humour is just that, applying jokes, comedy, and a flair for irony to your product to distract or to add emphasis or value to your product or your advertisement.